All right, good morning, and thank you so much for joining us today for this informative short webinar on the economic development and employment opportunities for the Minnesota Northland. I'll be your MC today. I'm Brett Cease, CCL's Education and Engagement Senior Director. And joining me this morning are the wonderful esteemed guests that I'll introduce and then pass to them to walk through all of these opportunities. We have Mike Overend, a recently retired veterinarian who is concerned about the climate crisis and seeking climate solutions for all living things, especially people. Charlie Orsak, a retired child psychologist and lover of the North Woods, previously a foreman at Erie Mining and resident of the Iron Range. We have Eric Enberg, who practices family medicine in West Duluth and lives with his family in Hermantown. Eric has been a member of CCL for 7 years and is also a member of the Duluth Climate and Energy Network for Healthcare Professionals for a Healthy Climate. And Russ Mattson, an electrical engineer with 30+ years of experience in the power and renewables, designing wind and solar installations in many Midwestern states. And what we are excited about presenting today is the following agenda. Charlie's going to let us know a little bit more about who we are and what our focus has been as a subcommittee here for our Minnesota Northland CCL chapter. Then we'll hear from Mike about the vast potentials with the iron air battery storage, and then discuss hydro storage using legacy mine pits from Russ. And Eric will close us out with an examination of the molten oxide electrolysis from Boston Metal's process. So I'll pass it to you, Charlie, and thank you all so much for tuning in today.
Well, thank you. I'd like to tell you a little bit about our group. We are the mining and industrial subgroup of CCL. We are a group of volunteers. We have a special interest in how the iron mining and steel production industries can play a pivotal role in addressing climate change. We invest our energies into looking for what we think of as win-win-win solutions. First, that the solutions reduce carbon dioxide emissions. Second, that they create good, stable jobs. And third, that they're practical, that there's perhaps some path forward here that we can all agree on. We are non-partisan, and we see our role as providing information to anyone who has interest. So we thank you for your time. I want to make 2 points here before we get started on the specifics, is that there's 2 important things to understand about why now is the time for action. First, the absolute consensus is that climate change is happening now. It's serious, but it's not too late. If we act now, we can avoid the worst effects. Second is that the energy revolution to address climate change is underway. So that if we're going to get in as the Northland on the ground floor of this, we need to act now, because there will be trillions of dollars spent and millions of jobs created. So the question is, why not here in the Northland? We are uniquely situated. We have a lot of things that we can brag about. First, we have the raw materials, the mining infrastructure. We have a trained group of workers. We have a training infrastructure that's excellent. We are strategically placed on the power grid and the transportation system, and we have access to renewable energy and abundant water. So now what we'd like to do now is I'll turn this over to Mike Overend, and he will talk about the iron air battery storage from Form Energy.
Thank you very much, Charlie. I am Mike Overend from Two Harbors. I'm thrilled to tell you about a unique economic development opportunity for Northeast Minnesota, the Form Energy iron air battery that offers permanent, strong job growth for our iron mining industry and new environmentally friendly manufacturing jobs to support our families and our communities. It's also a critically important climate solution, and it does not require politically controversial copper and non-ferrous metal resources or long supply chains. Our energy sector has a major problem. Over 60% of our US and global electricity production came from fossil fuels in 2021. This is a huge source of pollution, waste, and extra expense. The solution is transitioning to 100% clean, cheap, renewable energy as soon as possible. Unfortunately, the majority of renewables, wind and solar, are intermittent energy sources. To provide 24/7 reliability, we need a major advance in utility scale battery energy storage technology. Form Energy identified this challenge in 2017 and has created a cost-effective and scalable solution. The following video from Form Energy shows a new battery technology designed to meet this utility scale energy storage need.
A quick refresher. Storing energy allows us to save it for when we need it most. Think about having energy ready when a severe weather event shuts down a power plant, or using solar energy generated during the day, at night when the sun isn't shining. Grid reliability is essential, which requires having enough electricity available every second of every day. As we run our grid with more variable sources like wind and solar, we must meet the challenge of maintaining 24/7 power. This is why we see storage technology as a real game changer. We can deliver round-the-clock clean energy even when the sun isn't shining or the wind isn't blowing. One of the fastest growing technologies is battery storage. The most common form of battery storage uses lithium-ion, the same batteries used in smartphones, laptops, and electric vehicles. For perspective, battery packs with enough energy to drive an electric vehicle for 310 miles are equivalent to the energy stored in 6,500 cell phone batteries. And batteries with sufficient energy storage to power an entire city, like Minneapolis, during a 4-day storm would require the energy of 600,000 EV batteries. We already see critical supply chain challenges with lithium-ion, yet we need exponentially more supply to accommodate enough storage to support a reliable grid. Lithium-ion batteries work best for shorter-term storage. To store vast amounts of electricity, like during extended storms, we need new, cost-effective technologies capable of storing electricity for multiple days. Fortunately, innovators are emerging with new battery chemistries that hold promise for cost-effective, long-duration storage that can be deployed at grid scale. One of those companies is Form Energy. Form was founded by energy storage veterans who came together with a mission to reshape the global electric system by creating a new class of low-cost, multi-day energy storage systems. Form conducted a broad review of available technologies and selected something truly different from the vast majority of other approaches underway. A technology that's been known for decades but never truly commercialized. A rechargeable iron-air battery. Form believes iron-air is the best long-duration grid-scale storage solution due to its extremely low cost, safety, durability, and global scalability. Form is reinventing the iron-air battery, optimized for multi-day energy storage. It's essentially a reversible rust battery that charges by using an electrical current to convert rust back into metallic iron while breathing out oxygen. On discharge, the battery breathes in oxygen from the air and converts metallic iron to rust. Taking an even closer look inside the battery, each one is filled with a water-based, non-flammable electrolyte like those used in the AA batteries in your TV remote. Inside the battery are stacks of anywhere between 10 and 20 cells, which each include an iron electrode, the liquid electrolyte, and an air electrode, the parts of the battery that conduct and carry electricity on charge and discharge. The battery is a technical breakthrough. The iron electrode is the largest battery anode ever made, and one cell delivers about as much energy as a Chevy Volt battery pack. Once built, each individual Form Energy battery is around the size of a washing machine. Batteries are grouped together into a larger system, enclosed in a building or containers, and connected to the electricity grid. Form battery systems could include anywhere from tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of these individual batteries, depending on the needs of a given project. The Form battery systems also can be sited anywhere to meet energy storage demand. These iron-air batteries should offer unique advantages. At scale, the batteries are expected to store electricity at less than 1/10 the cost of lithium-ion batteries. The iron-air battery chemistry uses one of the most abundant minerals on Earth, iron, and is easily recyclable, unlike other batteries that depend on critical minerals whose supply chains are dominated by China. That's a win-win for U.S. energy security and the climate.
Form's multi-day battery energy storage makes renewable energy the 24/7 reliable energy source we need for both our routine and emergency future energy needs. Northeast Minnesota has the unique resources of skilled labor, iron ore and value-added iron products, excellent electric grid and transportation infrastructure to be a perfect home for Form Energy manufacturing of their iron air battery technology. In summary, the Form iron air battery offers a unique and powerful economic development opportunity for Northeast Minnesota and our iron ore industry. By supplying the raw materials for this major new industry, it will create a large number of permanent iron ore mining and value-added jobs. If Form Energy can be recruited to Northeast Minnesota, their iron air multi-day battery technology offers a large number of permanent new regional manufacturing jobs in an entirely new energy sector. This technology also creates the opportunity for additional new Minnesota iron ore value-added industries and permanent jobs that require 100% renewable energy and advanced energy storage. Industries like the carbon-free steel manufacturing so desired by the U.S. steel industry that will be discussed by my colleague, Eric Enberg. Iron air batteries are safe, cost-effective, recyclable, and scalable. And very importantly, iron air batteries do not need the politically controversial copper and non-ferrous metal resources or the long supply chains that are major issues in transitioning to our 21st century renewable energy economy. So please let us know how we can help you with any questions regarding Form's iron air battery. And I now have the privilege of introducing my colleague, Russ Matson.
Hello, my name is Russ Matson. I am an electrical engineer. I have 30 years of experience in the power industry, and I'm going to give you a short talk on energy storage possibilities for northern Minnesota. There are other battery technologies that fit well in northern Minnesota. One type of battery technology comprises the largest batteries in service today in the world, that being pumped hydro. There are more than 70 pumped hydro sites larger than 100 megawatts operating in the United States today, providing more than 90% of the energy storage capacity in the United States. 100 megawatts is about the size of Minnesota Power's St. Louis River hydro system. In the last decade, there have been many studies by the University of Minnesota through its research arm, NRRI, into pumped hydro at abandoned mine sites. Additionally, there's been a recent study done by Michigan Tech that documents the advantages of pumped hydro at abandoned underground mine sites nationwide. Pumped hydro is an established technology that has been in use for more than 100 years. Here's an example of a pumped hydro station. This one happens to be in Leadington, Michigan. This one has been in service for almost 100 years, almost 50 years, and it stores power overnight off the grid and then releases it at peak time. The UC of Minnesota through NRRI has, in the studies, has identified 9 potential sites for further study. But that's not all. There are other types of energy storage technology that would fit well in northern Minnesota, have been studied by the University of Minnesota and NRRI. One of these, which is suitable for northern Minnesota because of the geology, is compressed air systems. Several of these are in use in the United States today. There's one in Alabama, and there's a very large one in California. And the University of Minnesota has recently published through the NRI study on their feasibility here with respect to geology, location, and that sort of thing. Here's a short video from the Department of Energy which demonstrates how pumped hydro works.
Water, It's the most important substance on Earth. Without it, we wouldn't survive. It's also helped power our lives for more than a century. More than 6% of our nation's electricity comes from hydropower. And as wind and solar power continue to grow, water can also play an important role in bringing more renewable resources onto the power grid. One way is by storing energy through a technology known as pumped storage hydropower. Think of it as a big battery, flexible enough to respond to various power demands. When the sun is shining and the wind is blowing, electricity is in high supply, so water is pumped to higher elevation reservoirs during this time. When the sun goes down or the wind stops blowing, water is released back to lower reservoirs, basically filling in the gaps during peak demand and generating the needed electricity. Pumped storage is the most dominant form of energy storage on the electric grid today. There's more than 21 gigawatts of storage capacity already installed in the United States, with future opportunities to more than double that, keeping the grid reliable and ready to add more renewable electricity to the mix at low operating costs. To learn more about hydropower and pumped storage, visit our website at water.energy.gov.
So I'm going to talk about molten oxide electrolysis. Is a really exciting way to generate steel, or to make steel out of the resources that the Iron Range has. It's going to be a very big process, because this is a way in which the only thing that you produce out of this process as a waste product is not greenhouse gases, no carbon dioxide, but rather just oxygen. It needs cheap renewable electricity in order to do it, because electricity that's from renewable sources is the least expensive, and this process uses a lot of electricity. It has a lot of advantages in the sense that it can be placed at the mouth of the mine. So this leads to something that Iron Range leaders have been trying to accomplish for over 100 years, and that is getting value-added jobs up on the range, using the iron that's there to make steel, and then to have a diversified workforce with manufacturing. It also happens to be a very non-toxic kind of process, which only produces oxygen, as I mentioned before. The nice thing about this is that right now, with the way in which steel is made, it's a very long process. It's one that produces a lot of greenhouse gas emissions. And it would be potentially impacted by things like carbon pricing. However, this process, the molten oxide electrolysis process from Boston Metal, is immune from carbon pricing, and that's going to be a very big advantage up on the range. The commercialization of this process begins in 2025, and because you're able to produce molten metal right there on the range, it would be easy to see how you could have this directly hooked up with a number of manufacturing entities that could take that molten metal, change it and add things to it to make it the way they want it, and then be able to immediately, while it's hot, manufacture it into the product that they need. And now we're going to take a quick look at that video. It's just a 2-minute video that gives you a visual idea of what this process is like.
Manufacturing steel is one of the largest industrial sources of greenhouse gas emissions. If it could be done in a carbon-free way, it would revolutionize the industry and help fight climate change. There's a company in Boston trying to do just that.
If we can cut greenhouse gas emissions from steel, that's almost 10% of CO2 emissions. That's worth going after.
Boston Metal's mission is to manufacture metals on a clean way and a competitive way.
No one's going to pay a premium for green metal. It's got to be better, cleaner, cheaper. The conventional process to make steel, it's a chemical reaction. A blast of air goes in, passes over a form of carbon, and converts to a carbon monoxide gas. And that gas reduces the iron oxide to iron. So for every ton of iron you make several tons of CO2.
Boston Metal uses a process called molten oxide electrolysis. It uses electricity instead of using carbon from the coal.
You got iron oxide. You dissolve that into a mix of other oxides. And by the passage of electric current, the iron oxide is decomposed and it produces liquid iron. The oxygen out of the iron oxide comes off as oxygen gas. The production of CO2 is zero. And the electricity can be produced sustainably without CO2 emissions. We've got ample data that indicate that we make better metal at lower energy consumption rates and without any greenhouse gas emissions. In big industry, capital intensive, risk averse, disruption in those industries does not come from within the industry. It comes from outside the industry. So we're the disruptors.
So the steel industry is committed to decarbonization. We have been to various webinars and that sort of thing. It's pretty clear the steel industry is really trying hard to decarbonize. And fortunately, the American steel industry is very far along in this process. This is the process that probably is going to allow the steel industry to fully decarbonize without having hydrogen and that sort of thing as interim materials in that process. The thing is that right now, copper nickel mining is mired in regulatory and legal processes for right now. But we have, with these three technologies, with the iron air battery, with pumped hydro and that kind of storage, and also the molten oxide electrolysis, we have the ability right now to have job creation on a very large scale through the iron industry, which is proven and available right now. Everyone can agree that these technologies are long-term, family-supporting job creators. They're non-toxic, there's no long supply chains, and there's a lot less controversy with these three technologies. This is something that we could get done now or in the near future. And the best thing about it is that the more climate action we have, whether it be carbon pricing, rising energy prices, mandates, regulation, it doesn't matter. All of that redounds to the economic benefit of the iron range. So the message really is here is bring on the climate action and bring on the jobs through these three technologies. Thank you.